Hey guys, so excited that you're tuning into today's podcast. We have one of my clients who's the development director of the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, Melissa Frueh. I think you're going to love this interview because sometimes I know you love to hear straight from the development director as opposed to the executive director. You're like, how is this actually rolling out? How is the team changing? What are the new skills that they're learning, new tools that they have? And so you're going to hear that directly from Melissa. Now, Melissa has a sales background and she pivoted into nonprofit work and hasn't looked back, which is fun to hear that part of her story. But also what I want you to hear from Melissa is just the new skills of not only talking about her organization in a different way, but like moving into that investment level conversation, making sure that we're confident to lead donors through the numbers, through the quote unquote hard questions. And so I want you to hear, and Melissa actually gives two great donor examples that were successful of maybe what that conversation would have looked like before our work and now what it looks like and the types of results that she's getting. So take a listen and enjoy hearing how Melissa's really shifted into this new pace of fundraising. Melissa, thanks for being on my podcast.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so set the stage for us, Melissa, when we've been working together for, almost a year now. And set the stage. We're going to talk through like what our work has been and then just the incredible job you've been doing rolling out all of our strategy and plans. But first, tell us who you are, what the organization does that you work for, and how in the world did you get into fundraising? We'll just let you kind of start us off here.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Melissa Frueh. I am actually a first-time development director with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. We are a statewide organization that's building a resilient and regenerative local food and farm system through grassroots organizing. We center the voices of farmers and folks working in the food and farm system to champion impactful changes to create a system that works for and feeds everyone.
Amazing.
I got into fundraising. Okay, so I actually have an extensive sales background.
Great.
So I have about 10 years of sales and retail management experience. And truthfully, Sherry, I just got really burnt out with it. I was like, I don't find this work meaningful anymore.
And what were you selling, Melissa? Like, what was it, services or like just out of my curiosity?
Yeah, I was selling outdoor apparel and outdoor goods.
Yeah, wow.
Which resonated with me for a time. Yeah. I am an outdoorsy person. And so for a while, I, was fulfilled connecting folks with nature, and it fueled my drive to test the product and to get out into the world.
Yeah.
But that corporate environment after a while really burnt me out. Yeah. And I no longer found meaning and purpose in it.
Yeah.
And so I went through a little bit of a life change up and volunteered for a local nonprofit. They were actually doing food justice work. And through an internship, it was suggested to me, like, hey, you actually already have a lot of the skills developed.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Yeah, to development. Why don't you try this path? And so I suppose, fast forward a couple of years, and here I am.
Here you are. I'd be curious to know, like, do you feel like the corporate sales you were doing versus what you're doing now is like, oh yeah, it's exactly the same. It was a real easy transition. Or do you feel like, okay, 70% of it's the same, but this is the challenging part? I'd just be curious to know your feeling on the difference between those two.
There's actually a ton of overlap. Sales is all about relationship building. It's all about connecting with folks and really listening to what their needs are, and then matching something that meets their need and developing sort of a friendship and trust along the way. Yeah. And so I've found that to be extremely applicable to fundraising. And actually it's the face-to-face connecting that I enjoy the most. It's the fun part. And Now I'm actually going out and doing that more so face to face than via screen.
Yes.
It
Hallelujah.
feels great.
Good. Well, I'm anxious to jump into that because you have been fearless when it comes to going and meeting with people, which I always, always just like, yes, this is a fundraiser who doesn't want to hide behind their desk. Okay, so tell me when we first met, and your incredible partner Liz, who's the executive director. Tell me where you kind of were as an organization, and maybe just like what was great, and then what you were hoping to kind of fix. Like, what was that kind of problem or challenge that was presenting?
Yeah, well, I think the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, like many organizations,
Mm,
we are predominantly grant funded, which we know can be a tricky place to be
sure.
in. And as a statewide organization that does operate in the policy space, it can be even trickier for us to secure and maintain funding, especially in today's times. And we knew that we have a really big mission, right? And we
Yeah.
knew that
Yeah.
we needed to supercharge our fundraising if we are to truly transform the food
Yeah.
and farm system. And we knew that we couldn't rely on grant funders alone. We wanted to build a strong individual giving program, but we didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
Um, and we have some good friends in the Chicagoland area, food and farm nonprofit space.
There's a lot of you.
Yeah, well, they insisted that we become good friends, and
Yeah.
so we did.
I'm so glad they did. So glad. And so, so paint the picture. Okay, so you had, people were giving. I'd also love you to lay on top of this, just our work, the complexity, and I'll like to say welcome complexity of, you're a membership organization, and so you have a lot of people supporting the work, but maybe through more of a membership and not totally understanding how you're funded or that opportunity for them to really move into that best gift. Can you just talk a little bit about how maybe in the past you've fundraised through membership and maybe just some things that have changed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the membership piece was sort of the foundation of our individual giving. And we bumped into a couple of interpretations along the way where there are folks who view membership as sort of like an experience that you would get through a museum experience, for instance.
Yes.
There's like a levels and benefits, and it's an annual renewal, and it's sort of that one time gift, that one-time renewal, and with this gift at this level, I receive XYZ things.
Yes.
And we have a lot of farmers within our community they are very used to that model, through other organizations that are able to offer them discounts on insurance or other benefits, things like that. And then we had a camp of folks who understand membership from more of that philanthropic lens, where they're like, yes, I give not for the things that I can get in return, but because I want to be a part of something bigger than myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there are folks with more of that grassroots organizing lens. Folks like my fearless leader, our executive director, has a strong organizing background, and she
Yes.
is like, no, like membership is more than making a gift, and it's more than levels and benefits. It is a commitment to change. And how do you make change as a grassroots organization without any members who represent the constituency, the population that you're advocating for? And so through just a lot of norming and storming together, we were able to create a hybrid model that incorporates that membership is representative of our people, and also folks who want to make a gift, who want to be a part of something bigger to make change possible without perhaps being part of that core constituency that we're advocating for.
Yeah. And we've had so many discussions about, these members are incredible, passionate, rolling up their sleeves with you, but also like when we lay fundraising on top of that, sometimes there are opportunities to where we'd say like that donor is giving through a membership, but do we think they're giving their best gift, or do they understand the organization's greater need? And oftentimes that's just like you've been so good at pivoting into having those deeper conversations, or what I would call those investment level conversations, because sometimes membership orgs, people don't really understand how you're funded. Or they might think the membership revenue is 90% of it. We're cool. But when it's oftentimes a very small percent, especially in your case. So would you say that, okay, so we're shifting into the work we're doing. You already have this relational knack, if you will. What particular maybe aspects of our work maybe made the most difference for you, or as you think about like, oh, that's the thing that we were able to solve together?
Yes. I mean, there's so much that
I'm so glad.
I could talk for a really long time, but I think the time that we spent really honing in on what it is we're trying to do and how to best communicate our solutions was really a game changer. And I know that this sounds so simple. Identify the problem that we're trying to solve in the world and then just explain how we're fixing it. Sounds really simple, but the problem in the world that the Illinois Stewardship Alliance is trying to solve for is actually not that simple. It's pretty complicated,
Yes.
heady stuff. And so just to provide a little bit of background, we are trying to build a resilient, regenerative local food and farm system in Illinois because that does not exist yet here. The food system that we do have is consolidated and corporate controlled, and corporations currently hold the greatest influence over rules, regulations, incentives, and processes, things like that, that favor big companies, and often at the expense of farmers, our communities, and our planet. The problem is so big that it has created other issues that are like symptoms, like hunger, environmental issues, supply chain instability, farm labor shortages, so many things.
Yes.
These are all symptoms of this big problem. And so because the problem is so big and requires so many solutions, we need to gather as many voices as possible to hold governing agencies accountable to implement the changes that we want to see. It requires, this organizing term, this building collective power through outreach and education, developing leaders through civic engagement, training, creating impactful solutions through shaping policy change, and expanding resilient local food systems through strengthening connections within the local food supply chain. With each winning campaign, we are one step closer to chipping away at that corporate consolidation and one step closer to building a system that works for all Illinoisans. And so 6 months ago, I would not have been able to concisely or confidently say, this is the problem, and this is how we are solving it. And without being able to say even that over a coffee meeting with a donor meant that I couldn't really fuel the conversation. So now I have the tools that I am able to confidently have that conversation, and also the tools and the confidence to speak to how we are funded and how we are growing, and how a donor can help us get there.
So good. Okay, so you said so much there, but it was so good. I'm like, you're such an A+ student, Melissa, which is why I love working with you. Oftentimes I find like you guys, you're doing so many incredible things. It's like the list is huge, but sometimes that's actually maybe what's preventing somebody from understanding how you're funded, or really what you do, or maybe even we do these whatever 4 things, but this is how they all fit together. I know I'm really passionate about that third one, but really, why does all of this need to fit together so we can be sitting and having that investment level conversation, walking through the financials, and leading that donor to a general operating gift. And so I love when we get to do a case for support, just because it does, I find, give leaders like yourself a new lens, some objectivity, and like I don't have to share everything we do, but I can actually kind of, a real technical term, bucket it into these areas. And wow, donors really get that now. And I love that you guys kind of like wrestled so much with it, like in a good way, to say what parts are irrelevant or what parts don't need to be at the forefront, but what gives our donors like just the simplest clarity on what their gift can accomplish. And so that was just a super fun journey, and I learned a lot. Just going through that case for support process, and now you're seeing it, it infused in donor meetings, and people going, "Oh, okay, great, I get it." There's a bigger thing to get here. What would you say? So, talk to me a little bit more about those donor meetings. Because again, what you're so good at is like, you're like, got it. And I'm going to come back and I'm like, I've tried it 5 times. Let me tell you how it went. So what does life look like? Or maybe how have your donor meetings shifted, changed? What are those conversations looking like for you now?
Donor meetings are actually going swimmingly. I feel so much more confident and prepared going into a meeting, and donors are really receptive to that I feel like there's no hard question that they can ask me now that I can't answer. Most of our meetings are centered around just getting on the same page with each other and getting clarity around, okay, we're on the same page that this is the problem that we're trying to solve. And let me tell you more about how we are solving this problem. Big, huge, complicated, overwhelming problem in the world, with examples of our proven solution, which are those 4 programs. And I've said this in meetings 100 times, and folks have always nodded along with me in agreement, is when I'm out in the world and I'm giving our elevator pitch, and I say, we're a statewide organization. We're bringing farmers and eaters together to solve problems in the food and farm system through shifting policy. And folks are like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. How are you doing that?
Right.
And the answer gets a little, like, it varies from person to person, and they hit the right targets, but it's not very concise. It's not very clear, and it's not very confident. And I say this to donors and they're like, oh, yeah, I've struggled with that too. Like, okay, yes. Well, now we have this clarity. And also, folks naturally then pivot into asking, like, okay, like, these solutions sound great. How much do your programs cost? And where are you going? This is a really big problem to solve. Like, how are you funded? How are you growing? And I now have the tools and the confidence to pivot into talking to folks about that. Yeah. And I'm sure you hear this all the time, Sherry. We as fundraisers hear this all the time from folks who are not us, who say, thank you so much for what you are doing. I could not ever talk to folks about money. I don't want to talk about money. Right. I don't want to talk about numbers. Let me tell you though, if I am in a meeting with somebody, it's because they are curious about getting those answers. They're curious about, how are you executing your mission? How are you growing? And how can I help you get what you need? And often the how do I help you get what you need comes in the form of connections and relationships, and yes, also funding. But I have found that it's actually pretty easy to pivot the conversation into talking about our growth needs, because folks who are getting coffee with me are already curious. They're already there.
Yes.
And just like, investors who are curious about helping startup businesses, they wouldn't do that without a business plan. They wouldn't do
Right.
that without sales projections. So
Yes.
that also applies here, where this is the plan for how we're growing, and this is what we need. And here are the gaps where you can help me fill these gaps,
Yeah.
because our donors want to see us thrive. They want to
Yeah.
see us grow. They want to make a deeper impact in our missions work. And they understand that that can only be done through funding needs.
Yeah. I love that. I think you're really good at, or maybe you've kind of taken this and ran with it. You're really good at like the mission story, the programmatic story, the impact story. And I think that's a testament to you as a fundraiser. You know these programs inside and out. Like, you talk like a program person, which is always so incredible to me that fundraisers can so intimately know the programs, which is so strong. But then also now you pivoting into the investment level story and the financial story and having those tools. Were you pivoting into the financial story before it, or what would happen when people were like, "So what's next?" Or do we give to you? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I mean, sometimes it's like, well, money was left on the table, but do you feel like this new skill set is kind of like allowing you to move into that?
Absolutely. Prior to working together, the meetings that I had with donors were very on an annual level. This is the
Hmm.
work that we're accomplishing this year. This is how your gift made an impact last year. And when because our work is so annual, is so
Yeah.
campaign oriented,
Hmm.
there can there can be a little bit um, there can be a little bit of a pause where it's like, well, did
Sure.
you win that campaign? Like, did we get
Right.
what we wanted? Um, and having more of a growth plan of like, well, we didn't get it this time, but we're gonna get it next time.
Yeah.
Um, of, well, we're accomplishing our mission even if we didn't get everything that we wanted from that last campaign, and now here's the plan for programmatically how we're going to continue to transform the food and farm system, and also financially, well, okay, we just need to, we need to double down harder, and this is how you can help us double down. Sets the tone for more of a like, it's okay, we're not hanging on by a thread year after year, and our
Right.
mission is not hanging on by a thread
Right.
year
You're
after year. We're
strong. Hmm.
still moving forward, we're still growing, and your gift is still making an impact even if we didn't get everything that we wanted from that
Yeah.
last win.
Yeah. Taking that longer view, I suppose.
Exactly.
So, any other like top takeaways or surprises from our time together with your team?
Yes. Well, one of the surprises I actually just mentioned a second ago, which was actually how easy it is to talk about numbers. And our work together has really clarified those numbers for us. Prior to our work together, we didn't have program budgets because we were not clear about what our programs were. And so now we can confidently speak to what our program costs are, and you know, when I pull up that information, donors can clearly see like, oh,
Yeah.
right, this is how my gift is making a difference, and not just at a programmatic level, but also at an operational level too. Um, that having those conversations is coming easier and easier because, like I mentioned, if they're willing to take a meeting with me in the first place, they're already curious about these
Yes.
things.
Yes.
Um, and then I think the second sort of surprise takeaway with working with my team um, is, I've heard it said before that all work is development work,
Hmm.
because development work touches so many different areas within an organization. Um, I didn't quite know how to best prepare my team for the work that we accomplished together. And I am grateful to them that they were along for the ride when we were like, friends, well, now we have to track your time.
Right.
We have to more carefully account for, programmatic budgets that we didn't before. Like, sorry, friends, we now have to fill out timesheets together. Like, okay.
I love that you guys are doing that to get a realistic picture.
Yes. And also, our work together is coming at an excellent time because we are also going through a rebrand.
Right.
And so now everything that we've talked about together, all of the clarity around our programs and around like, this is the crisis in the world that we're solving, all of this now flows through our website. It touches all areas of our communications. It touches and also programmatically that now my programs team is more confident in explaining to others, well, yes, we're doing, we're working on XYZ today because it fits underneath this programmatic area, right? I think the team is more confident now as well. Although for a hot minute, it was, they were like, why are we doing this? What is happening? Why is this impacting me so much? Isn't this Melissa's work?
Right, right.
No, friends.
Development touches everything. Absolutely.
We're all development people.
Oh my gosh. So good. Melissa, I know you have had so many donor meetings, which is so good. Is there a success story, whether it's big or small, that you've had just in our time together, just starting to use these tools with the donor, whether they had been giving before or not?
Yes, I actually have a couple of success stories. So give me just a moment.
Yeah, I love it.
Here. I think my two favorite success stories are from two very different donors. One is from a donor who supported our work through coming to an event and prior to my time. And I noticed that this donor, made strong gifts through this event, and then she stopped coming to the event and she stopped supporting. And I reached out to her a couple of times over my 3-year tenure just to try to get to know her a bit better and to bring her back in to the organization. And I called her and invited her to coffee, and she immediately was like, she knew she knew what I was up to.
You're the fundraising person. Yeah.
She's like, yep. But she took my call and she said, I love your organization. I still follow the work that you do. But particularly right now during this time, there's so much going on in the world that I have to narrow my focus a bit. And I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to support your organization in the ways that I have in the past. And I said, of course. Like, of course, there's so much going on in the world, right? Like,
pick a topic.
Yes, I completely understand that there's so much need right now, but you have already made an impact at the Alliance. Do you mind if I take you to coffee just to share what your gift has helped make possible? And she was like, okay. She wasn't super excited about it. I got the impression that she wanted to meet with me to check a box of like, this girl's been calling me. I should just meet with her.
Get her off my back.
Yes. And so we met, and I offered all of those points of clarity around this is the problem that we're trying to solve. And your gift has made an impact in chipping away at a corporate controlled and consolidated food and farm system in XYZ ways. And your gift has made transformational change for us in XYZ ways. And we were talking about an aspect of our programming that doesn't get as much attention as the policy piece does. We're very well known for our policy changes, But behind the scenes, there's all this leadership development going on in how we engage with farmers who are the voice of change at our
Right.
organization. And I was telling her about how we're developing leaders and how one of the ways in which we do that is by organizing advocacy days at the Capitol to build relationships with legislators to get that face time so that they can be champions for the changes that we want to see, right? And I had said to her that that is one of the most impactful ways that we're able to reach people, because they come to these events and they're like, what are my talking points? I don't want to mess up. They're intimidated by being in this space, right? Like there are all these big wig, powerful people here, but they go into meetings and they say what they came here to say, and they come out of meetings so much lighter, so much more empowered. And I actually hear people say to me, wow, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. And I said to her, that's one of my favorite moments to witness for somebody, because once someone steps into their power and they realize they have that power, that's a bell that cannot be unrung.
And they were heard, that's incredible.
Yes. And this donor reached across the table and she took my hands and she said, that was so beautiful. And then she wrote me a check.
This is our no doesn't mean no story, isn't it, Melissa?
Yes. And
she wrote you a check.
And I just want to be clear, like I was not intending to make I had even framed the meeting as, I'm not going to ask, I'm going to thank.
Yes.
And she made a gift without me even pulling up the financial need, just by telling the right story. Wow. Because her concern was, I feel hopeless. There's so much going on in the world. And that story was a story of hope for her.
So good. Melissa, I feel like you just explained like everything you said and how you framed it, but I feel like my guess is in that meeting, and frankly, the lead up to this meeting, it was all about the listening. Like you're a great listener, and listening is such an important part of tuning into maybe this woman's concerns or needs or what she needed to hear in a really authentic way.
Thank you.
You said you had a second example. Okay, so that's a lapsed donor that you've pulled back, which is incredible. What's the second example you were mentioning?
The second story comes from a donor who has been supporting us through a family fund, and he's been supporting us for a handful of years at a certain gift level. And I sat with him and walked him through all the things, including our financial need. And I showed him our top 30 gift chart, right? And I walked him through, these are our funding sources. These are the levels of gifts that we're looking to secure. And hey, look, there you are on this little square here. And he was looking over the chart and he looked pretty closely, and like I could tell that he was processing, but he was like, the amount at which I can give is based on how well the family business does. I'll keep this in mind. I'll talk to my dad. He was just very non-committal, but he was like, yeah, okay. And I sort of left it at that. The next moment in his experience was to come to one of our farm dinners. I intended to reconnect and use that as another follow-up point for him. But he beat me to the punch because he recommended a gift sooner than I anticipated. He's an end of year giving donor, and he recommended a gift months earlier. So I thought I had more time.
Yes,
with
right.
him, but he recommended a gift much earlier, and he increased his giving to the next level on the gift chart,
Amazing.
and I didn't have to ask.
Amazing. Amazing. And so had he been giving previously just through an appeal or at an event, or how did you move it from however he was giving to a solicitation?
I believe he gave through an appeal. I think that was just like, oh, that's my annual reminder.
Right. Right. So good. So many examples. I feel like there was maybe like a 2 or 3 week period where I was getting all these emails from you like, oh my gosh, it worked again. Or, oh my gosh, we did this. And so I just want to, sometimes people will ask me, Melissa, when I'm just talking to organizations who are thinking of hiring me. And I love the question. And the question is, hey, when does your process not work? Or when does your, in essence, your methodology not work? And I always say, it's when, like, I'm going to teach people the same thing, but it's when we say, okay, now go do it. There's like, people freeze and they say, well, actually, I do want to just stay behind my desk and send emails, or, I still want to just be in appeal land, or I'm afraid to go out and try and have these investment level conversations. And I hope anybody listening to this that's hearing how you were like, great, new tools, great, new way of talking about things. Now let me go do it and just put one foot in front of the other. I really think they're going to be inspired by that because you did not hesitate. You have moved right into this cadence that your organization needs. You're getting results. And so I want to say a huge kudos to you for being fearless and saying, okay, we're going to go try it. We're going to go have conversations because your mission is incredible. And you already had people who also felt strong about the mission, but we just needed to lead them on just a little bit of a different journey. So I would just want to say what a pleasure it's been to coach you because you're like, okay, I'll go do it now. And you actually go and do it. So which is so great.
Thank you. And it's really helpful to view, donors as our friends, right?
Yeah.
We're in it together. That framing of, I sometimes hear it from folks of like, oh, well, I don't want to bother somebody.
Yes.
I don't want to, take up too much of your time. When you flip the script a little bit and, view your donors as folks who know they do want to help you.
Yeah.
They do want to take the time. Not every time that works for you is best for them, but that's not a no.
Yeah.
They are interested, even if they can't make a gift today, they're going to remember the experience of sitting down and having coffee and having that FaceTime, which is so needed, particularly right now when we're all trying to build community and we're all trying to help each other. That even that FaceTime of just, providing an update and saying like, this is how you've made a difference and this is where we're going thanks to your past support. That is a game changer, right? To view your donors as people and as friends who are co-conspirators in the work that you're trying to accomplish.
So good. So good. Let you have the last word at that. Melissa, how can people find you and your organization? Just website, contact information in case they want to reach out.
Yes. Well, any friend of yours, Sherry, is a friend of mine.
Thank you. So, thank you.
My email is melissa@ilstewards.org. Drop me a line to chat. And you can learn more about the Illinois Stewardship Alliance by visiting our brand new website.
Incredible new brand. You did it.
www.ilstewards.org. You can find us on all of the socials at ilstewards.
Great. Thanks for your time, Melissa.
Thank you, Sherry.